Go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Rugby NorCal Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Delana, and I'm here today with a phenomenal college program coming all the way from the East Coast, Syracuse University. Today, I've got Patrick, Colin, and Shayo here to talk about the program, introduce the program to the Rugby NorCal community, and see what they got going on. I think that from their website, it looks like they have a lot of really great things. Obviously, a phenomenal school as well. And so, just juiced to be able to introduce this program to our community. Everyone, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Nate.
much.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's jump right into it. So, Colin, I think the biggest thing for me looking at this is obviously the tie to Leinster, right? A lot of people in our Rugby NorCal community are, huge rugby fans, right? We've got a huge audience. We've got, rugby here for, forever, for some of the longest time in regards to the American rugby culture. And so I'm just wondering, can you just talk a little bit about the ties to Leinster, kind of the program and how it goes about at Syracuse? I'd love to be able to get a little feel for that.
Yeah, so about 3 or 4 years ago, we came in touch with the university in terms of our camps that we run back home in Ireland, but also in Italy. And basically, some of the kids from the Syracuse area actually came to our camps, and alumni and contacts from the university were very impressed on how we go about our business in our camps, and how we develop players, that 13 to 17-year-old player. And our camps back home, to give you an idea, you're basically living, breathing, and sleeping being a professional rugby player, to give kids the opportunity and taste to see what that looks like, what that feels like. So from that, then the idea come up. Well, then obviously with the World Cup taking place in 2031 here in the States for the men and 2033 for the women, the idea was, well, if you analyze and look at our ground up model and how much we rely so much at home with our volunteers, our clubs, our schools, our community, that there's an understanding that 90% of our professional side is all homegrown talent. So with that USP in mind, and with the climate within the States, within rugby, well, and for the game to develop here, to make the USA player and coach great, we have a lot of similarities. So the whole idea tied in with the education side of things with university and what we have to offer. We decided that let's give this a rattle, let's give it a trial and see if there's opportunities to be able to Americanify what we do in terms of
Okay.
Syracuse education and Leinster Rugby.
Awesome. Awesome. So really, I mean, I think having a connection to a program or, just the brand of Leinster in itself is just what a phenomenal opportunity to be able to connect to a professional program like that. Right. Patrick Shayo, I don't know if you have thoughts, but would love to hear just if that connection has helped at all or if it's expanded your, maybe your rugby horizons. Would love you guys to just kind of talk about what you've learned from that aspect of it.
Shai, you want to go first?
Yeah, definitely speaking from the women's side, I think that having that Leinster component through Colin has been like a game changer for us. I remember this summer I played senior women's rugby in Massachusetts for the first time, and I took my Syracuse slash Leinster ball with me, and the people saw it and they were like so shocked, and they're like, how do you know Leinster? Like, how do you have this ball? I'm like, we have a collaboration. Like, this is normal for us. Like, I go to practice every day, and I have these resources, and I'm learning so much through Collie, and I'm also seeing the ways in which he's putting life into the Pee Wee programs. Because I've also noticed that when it comes to the women's game, most of us, if not all of us, are starting in college. So
Mhm.
we're already at that deficit and we want to compete at those higher levels. But having Kali here to put life into those programs and put life into us has definitely blossomed our program 100%.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, and to extend off those thoughts, I've had a unique ability to be able to go and participate in the camps that Kali does, not only just in Syracuse, but around the country, whether it's in Denver or with Xavier or at Georgetown Prep, the university that I was able to go to. So I've had the ability to watch Kali work firsthand with the youth as well as the other coaches, and they really do embody, live, and breathe what they talk about. There is no messing around, and they are serious and straight to the point, and they know how to develop rugby players. And especially taking our program here to that performative rugby program, we're really able to kind of push the boundaries of what we thought we were able to do and strive for excellence every day.
It's awesome. It's just, I mean, it's outstanding. I think a lot of players in Northern California really are looking for that, like that kind of environment, right? That environment where, they want to get better. They want to, expand their rugby horizons. They want to compete, right? And so I think being able to foster that type of, environment at where you're at is incredibly important. But, and I love to hear that, it's also including getting into the community, getting with youth, it sounds like as well, which is great. And so that's, I mean, kind of everything that you're looking for when it comes to, just like a rugby environment for our types of players. I'd love to hear, Patrick and Shio, what does a normal week look like for a Syracuse women's and a Syracuse men's rugby player? What does your practice schedule look like? What does the game schedule look like? Would love to just get some thoughts on that, just so everyone can kind of get an idea.
Shia.
Yeah, so I'd say that the men and women are pretty parallel. We practice in the same facilities, mostly doing the exact same things, just flipped in terms of time. So it's 2 hours a week. Excuse me, it's 2 hours every day, and then 5 days a week. And that, that would differ based off of, who's coaching and what team it is. But we always have cage. So we have cage 2 times a week. Cage is just weightlifting. That's that strength and conditioning that we need. And then we do an on field for those 2 days a week. And then for the other 3 days of the week, we're just on field, hitting the turf, hitting the pitch, working on lines, pattern, and such. And then I want to say for games, the women have 7 games this season, one of which was our first annual conference invitational that we hosted through Upstate New York Collegiate Rugby Conference. So that was a big move for us. There were a bunch of teams that came over from different conferences, different divisions, and we were able to host. So that was really big for us.
Yeah, Shio covered most of it, honestly. 5 days a week, we're on the field for 3 of them, working through our learnings and then truly exercising and focusing on recovery when we're in the gym, trying to stay as fit as possible. And I mean, that highlights just how Leinster Rugby's been able to come in and kind of give us that help as well in the field house with the gym and having access to the right trainers, physio coaches, and mental health coaches as well.
Awesome. God, I love hearing that kind of stuff. It really, rugby needs to really, I think this is just personally like, we are competing with so many different sports, across the country, right? Obviously, we're still incredibly small when you compare us to basketball, football, baseball, soccer. And so being able to create a professional environment where you're practicing every day, getting on the field, getting better, hitting the gym, which is like incredibly important. I think that's outstanding. And so 3 days a week on the field, 2 days a week in the gym, basically going 5 days all the time. And then your season, so you guys are an NCR, correct? And so your schedule is September to roughly December. Can you give me a little bit, Colin, maybe of what the schedule looks like, just so our community can have a good understanding of what that would be?
Yeah, I suppose just to reiterate what the guys have said. So when we first began the partnership, and when we first started off and had a look at the environment, and we challenged it, and we said, well, look at, I mean, what does a high performance environment look like, and where are we at, and where do we judge and measure ourselves at? So there's 3 different phases of this. You've got your participation phase to performance to high performance, and then within that, then you've got a criteria on how you judge and measure the success of where you're at. So in terms of, for example, facilities, when we first got here, we had no field. Now we had a field but it would be a shared field.
Yeah.
But last year we got our own new field, fantastic, brand new field with lights. We had no weight cage when we first started. We have one now. We had no full-time S&C coach. We have one now. We had no nutrition support or mental skills support. We have that now. So the evolution of where we first started to where we are at has given us the opportunity now to be able to plan what that week looks like. So, and that's why I wanted to, it's important for me to say just sort of get people up to date on the journey, that how we started from a participating environment now to a performance environment, and then the importance of all the bells and whistles to go with that. And then obviously you need students to play as well. So this weekend past, we fielded 3 men's sides and 1 women's side. So we had 4 teams out on the weekend. That for me is huge success. And within those dimensions, in terms of type of player we have, we've got the player that's only coming in the door that's never played before that wants to give it a try. And we've got a player who's been playing from high school maybe 3 or 4 years, and their program, maybe they've played 3 or 4 games a season, so they haven't really played much, but yet and all they'll tell you they're coming from a high school program, which is fine. And then you've got that sort of performer, that player who's maybe knocking on the door of MLR or in the Eagles pathway. we have the facilities and we have the capabilities to be able to deliver for that player as well. So the practice sessions during the week is very much in. So to go back to the preseason, we had 2 sessions per day preseason a week before university started, and within that, then we made sure all the other capacities of the player was covered in terms of the mental side, nutrition, S&C, team building, goal setting, all those the soft skills and off pitch stuff that maybe a lot of people won't pay attention to because you haven't got the time. But by doing that and implementing that structure, again, it gives that not only feel good factor, but now it starts giving us something to measure on our progression. Because you can't control winning on match day. You need a lot of things to go with you to win: referees' decisions, good form of the players, the weather, so on and so forth. But what you can control is building those blocks and pillars around a successful rugby program. So the Syracuse University have been fantastic in delivering and growing and supporting the off-pitch and on-pitch part of making this a success. So our Monday night, or the previous Monday night just gone, we kicked off on last Saturday against Fordham. So on Monday night just gone, last night actually, we went through a walkthrough. Monday night we went through a walkthrough on our learnings from the Saturday's game. Last night then we went through what we are preparing for this weekend. Tonight we'll rehearse that again. Tomorrow night we'll do a team run, A's versus B's. Friday a team run on our own, and then we'll play on Saturday. But because the season is so condensed, Nate, you have to be very, very adaptable and flexible, making sure that you're keeping players healthy and their time and feet is managed with precision. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of fatigue, a lot of injuries, and you don't want numbers dwindling. So we're challenged by making sure we're looking after the health of the players, making sure everyone's getting game time, making sure we're feeling players, making sure we have the facilities topped up back at the university, and all those other pillars that the people are helping out and delivering on. So that's a big thing. And obviously then our recruitment model in terms of our camps, since we started the partnership, we've reached over 400 kids between 13 to 17 that have attended our School of Excellence camps across the States.
Okay.
And again, we're here to help the player become the best that they can be. And within that, especially those kids who are thinking of coming to university, they're linked in with SU as an opportunity if that's what they want to do. We don't care or mind where students go to university. For me, once they're playing rugby, once they're getting a great experience when they came to the camps, or if they're going to other camps. But the whole thing is we're looking to grow an army of people here, of players, of volunteers, of coaches, of communities, of coach educators, developing players. Because up until 2 weeks ago, World Rugby, we aren't seeing much of what their big picture looked like in terms of their strategy. And they're after pumping in 250 million to 270 million into the American game, which is a real shot in the arm to start further and developing the game across the states, which is great. It's putting your money where your mouth is, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And what's really encouraging to us is that we've been here 2 years, and now with toiling away, and it's been brilliant and it's fantastic. And now you see a shot in the arm from World Rugby. So that's going to grow the game across the states. It's going to help the coaches become better, the players, the community, and so on. And that's what the game is all about.
I think those that are prepared or have been preparing, right? Obviously, unknowing what type of funding World Rugby is going to give in from 2031 and 2033. Those who have created the structures in order to allow for the scaling and allow for the education to occur and allow for the infrastructure to grow are going to be the ones that are able to use that properly, right?
Yeah.
And use that in a way where you can maximize the return on the investment that's coming in, right? And so
Exactly.
I'm super keen and super happy about clubs, teams. I mean, I'm talking like U8, U10, U12, high school, and then obviously
Yes.
all the way up to college teams that have been doing the right things, have
Mm.
been creating environments that are positive in order to be able to take in that funding and be able to take things to the next level, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's what good clubs do. anyway, right? They're going to do, you guys are going to create the environment that you guys want, and it's going to be great. And then when, it's basically taking advantage of a really good opportunity, right? That when it does come up, right? It's like, you'd rather be lucky than good, and I want to be both, right? I'm going to be good. And then when something comes up, I want to be able to take advantage of that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we've been lucky as well to share our coach development model back home. We've ran coaching clinics in Xavier High School in New York,
Mhm.
Staples in Connecticut, and we were down in with Rugby Colorado
Mm.
in Glendale. We had one just in the summer past, and we also had one in East Denver High last year. So again, we've worked with over 135 coaches at our clinics, and again, just socializing what good looks like, understanding their needs and their understanding of what type of player that they want to develop, and then challenging them on what their coaching should look like. So it's all well and great saying that we want the charismatic, flamboyant, beautiful rugby player whose catch pass skills is excellent, who tackles everything and understands the game very well. Well, if that's the type of player that you want to develop, well, then what does your coaching now look like? And that's the
Mhm.
message we've been very fortunate to get out there. And then on the community side as well, I didn't mention, but this is very important to us as well. We're lucky that we've gone into 5 local schools in the last year here in the Syracuse area, putting balls in kids' hands. We've reached over 800 kids by just giving them an experience with a rugby ball in hand, letting them to run into space, pass into space, um, through a flag rugby program, and again just teaching, having fun, working with the teachers, and it's been great because we've been collaborating with Imagine Rugby and US High School and Youth Rugby on those things. So we want to support their goals and missions as well and align with them. It's all for the greater good of the game. So
Mhm.
it's really it's fantastic and it's great. I've been made very welcome here since I've come from Ireland by everybody, and there's a
Good.
great community of rugby people, and I think everyone is very keen to not only grow this game uh, with participation, but wanting to keep people in and then develop them. So
Mhm.
that's massive.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Talking about the players and talking about the teams, I'd love to get into a little bit about like maybe a little bit about culture, and maybe I can throw this over to Shayo. I would love to know like what the culture of the women's rugby team in Syracuse, and then what you're looking for in a teammate. What are you looking for when maybe new players get on the field, right? Or like new recruits come in. Like what kind of mindset should they have, and what should they expect?
Yeah, so I think collegiate women's rugby has often had a tone of we want everyone, regardless of whether or not you're athletic or you've tried a sport, but we want everyone because it's a different game than it is when it comes to men's collegiate rugby. And I think that as we've moved forward and we've gotten a new coach, he's amazing, Yohandy Martinez, from Play USA Rugby in New York. As we've moved on, through or rather away from that notion, we're aiming for that excellence.
Mhm.
You don't have to come from athletics, but once you get here, work like you are athletic. We have this slogan every single day. It's aim for excellence. We are family. We're constantly trying to just push that into everyone's heads such that we're on the same page. We want to win and we want to continue the streak that we've had. In the last 2 years, we've been our own conference champs now twice. And it's like, how can we keep that going? How can we get further in regionals? How can we get to nationals? How can we place higher in CRC sevens? And that's just, I mean, hitting the pitch, and it starts at practice. It starts
Mhm.
getting there early, getting there not on time, but early. And that's a really big thing for our coach. Getting there, working skills, doing what you can to help yourself so that when it's time for us to coalesce as a team, you can't be questioned. It can't be a matter of why didn't you do that? And even when it is that, it's being able to look at each other as a team and saying, how can we help each other? We're really big on positive criticism and just being a leading shoulder for everybody that needs that help. But at the end of the day, because we are on a college campus where rugby is kind of small and it's blossoming into something bigger, we're still very inclusive and we want you, we can train you up. I started from track and field. I had not ever seen a rugby ball in my life before I got to college.
Mhm.
And now through the leadership on, or rather in this program, I've played for all-star teams. I'm all American, and it's because of them. And it's because
Mhm.
of the culture that is actively being built.
Yeah, and it's embracing. It sounds like it's, we will certainly, rugby's always had the, hey, if you're willing to strap the boots on, you're going to be a part of the community. right? But then there's the other part, which is you need to embrace the culture, right? You need to be able to get in and do what needs to be done in order to be
Absolutely.
able to provide for that team and give to the game, right? And that talk, you talk about getting to the field early. You talk about doing the personal skills that you need to learn in order to, make sure that the group, when you get in with a group, that you're doing what you need to do so the team can advance, right? And so a lot of beautiful things there that I think any athlete would need to hear once they, or non-athlete, right, that wants to get into the game. Certainly, Patrick, I'd love to hear your thoughts too on the boys' side or the men's side.
Well, on the men's side, we go by something, and coach says this all the time. It's iron sharpening iron. Every
Mm-hmm.
practice we go there, we want to compete, and those are the players that we look to bring in. And those forms of iron can come in many shapes and sizes, whether you've played before or you've been playing for 10 years, right? We're looking for those players that are motivated to get immersed into the game and really drive that excellence, like Shia was saying. We want to have everybody working together, building from the bottom up, but we want to bring in players who want to be here with us, right? We're trying to continue and build momentum every single day we're at practice, and we need those people who are going to compete, come ready to learn, and be a sponge every day, day in and day out. Just working hard on and off the field at all times. Just continue to build the game, and especially driving our team to that next level that we're trying to achieve.
Beautiful. Yeah, and it sounded like, and Colin, correct me if I'm wrong, you said you had three sides on the men's side. So opportunities across, for, I mean, are we talking like 60, 70 players there? I mean, three sides
Yeah.
is a lot of teams.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of our big philosophies is rugby is for everybody. So it doesn't matter who you are, what shape or size you are, where you're from, whether you're an international player or a local player, or no matter whereabouts it is in the States, there's a place for you here.
Mhm. Beautiful. I mean, I mean, three sides, that's impressive. Like that's hard to get to. There's not that many. I would wonder how many sides or how many clubs in the United States have three sides. And I think it's just so important because, I remember my first time playing rugby, same with you, Shio. Like I was a baseball player growing up, and then I, decided to play rugby in college. And, you practice for 3 months, but then your first time you play a game, you learn more in the first 15 minutes of your first game than you do in the 3 months of practicing, right? You know, and so it's like, but if you don't get that game time, right, the learning curve gets steeper and it's harder, right? And so having three sides allows players to, have that game time where I think you learn the most, in my opinion, right? And so, yeah, it's really beautiful to hear. Let's get a little bit. I know the parents are going to want to hear about it, and it's certainly the most important thing in regards to university. A little bit about just the comparison between your academic and your athletic schedule, right? I know Syracuse has a phenomenal journalism school amongst, I'm sure, a quality amount of amazing majors. How does the management of the academic side and the management of the athletic side coexist at Syracuse?
Shia, you want to take first?
Yeah, I can go ahead. So our an additional men's coach that is not here right now, who is also our club advisor, is Robert Wilson, and he's very big on the academic side. He monitors our GPAs. He sees how we're doing separately as both the men and the women. And I think that coming from somebody who has two majors, who has the minor, who's STEM, who has multiple jobs at a time during the semesters, I personally think that when you care about something, when you're passionate about something, it's very easy to make the time and to balance it out. I haven't had an issue as of yet balancing it out, and I think that the coaches are so accommodating. They give you an option. They tell you, if you're here to get serious, let us know, and we'll give you the space to learn. But at the same time, you need to be transparent. You have your syllabi way before you get to this team. Let's report this. Tell us when you won't be here. Tell us when you will be here. But make sure you're making up those lifts on your own time. Today I won't be going to practice. I'm gonna have to make up that lift and I'm gonna have to show proof. And I'm okay doing that because I know that it's best for me and it's best for the team. When you have somebody who's in a leadership position, putting dedication toward her academics, but at the same time, also saying I'm not forgetting about the team or my responsibilities to the team, it builds up that morale and it creates that culture of excellence, both in the books and on the field for everyone.
Yeah, and
I
to
love you.
continue
Yeah.
on that point, honestly, sorry to interrupt, but
Sure.
I'd really like to say that trying to balance school and playing rugby at the same time requires you to honestly mature a little bit faster than most, right? Because freshmen, we had this conversation, we were doing our goal setting meeting last week, but we talked about being prepared and making sure to up your intensity in managing your own life. And when you have 5 practices a week plus a game, rugby's taking up 6 days of your week with an aggregate of around 12 to 15 hours in that week. You're working a part-time job. And on top of doing these other classes, if you're not setting yourself up for success from the start, day one, you won't be able to kind of manage your schedule once you get to a senior year or junior year level. Because just like Shia, we're all taking these hard classes now that we've developed into these seniors. And it's because of that work-life balance, managing our time from when we were freshmen to now. So making sure you're getting your homework done, communicating with coaches, talking with your teachers, and going to office hours, all within the frame of being able to still go to practice. We've extended practice or pushed it from 5 to 7 that we used to have from 7 to 9 to accommodate for a lot of those players. So it is a little bit later at night. And you have most of the time in your day to get everything done. And if you can balance and manage that, there is really no excuse to be not showing up to training or late to practice or missing these meetings or coaching clinics, honestly. But I will say life can get in the way, school can get in the way. It is very difficult. And the great thing about our program is we're very accepting of that. One of our coaches, David DeSalvia, he always says, if you're going to fail a class, go work on that. Go figure it out, right? Because Bob doesn't want to see that. Kali doesn't want to see that. And I know Dago would hate to see that because they're trying to develop us into people as well. So they're putting that stress on us to perform on the field and off the field. They want to build us as dynamic, excellent young men and women for the community to continue to keep growing the game. And you have to do that on and off the pitch.
Yeah, it's just so important too. And I'm to be honest with you, I'm the biggest proponent of being on sports teams, and I think the structure actually helps you get stuff done, in my opinion, right? I know that the times where like I didn't have a structure, that's the time where it's like, you have all this stuff to do, but you have no structure to do it, right? And so having that structure, having that time when you're going to practice, and the players and the teammates that you have to perform for and hold yourself accountable for, I think helps drive that, that need to, create a schedule that works for everybody, right? Because then it's not just you, it's like, hey, you have to do things for your team, for your teammates, and your building, right? And that just I think that kind of transcends as well. And I'm guessing since you now have a field with lights is another reason why you can go practice 7 to 9, which is phenomenal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Having that in the field house as well with the indoor capabilities of having that field at any time we need it. I mean, it's honestly just amazing. And to further highlight the vast amount of players we have, it's just everyone has a different major. There are maybe a handful of people on the team that have the same major. And if you need questions, if you need help, there's probably someone that's going to have your major if you're a freshman or sophomore coming in, especially transfer students as well. I mean, some of my classes now are with transfer students we have, and they're grad students. And now we can go in and talk after practice. Hey, did you do this homework? Hey, did you do this and that? And hey, are you going to be able to complete this assignment on time to make practice? So a lot of people see each other around campus every day, and that kind of motivates them to continue to work hard for each other.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, and it's so important to have that community when it comes to, at the university level as well. I'd love to talk a bit about like these new facilities and really maybe, Colin, if you can just kind of give me a runway here on how we go about there. It sounds like you came into a program that, that needed some work, right? And I think you talked about what it was: participation, performance, and high performance. I've never heard those three dichotomies before laid out that way. How are you able to, get to those different phases? And like, does it also involve like a vibrant alumni group that's also helped you get there?
Yeah, so like before we came, just this is very important as well, that there's been an establishment of rugby here at SU since 1970, which has been fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of groundwork done in terms of formation of the club and fielding of teams over the years. So when we come in, when we, because of our sort of USP, what we have back home in terms of our model, in terms of how our player pathways and our coach pathways work back home, and how you've got KPIs and how you can judge and measure not only the success of our own pathways, but we need our clubs and schools back home to be aligned with what we do. So our top schools and our top clubs and communities are very, very much supporting or very supportive and drive our pathway as well. And within that, then we've developed an understanding of what those pathways look like and what good looks like and what good practices look like. So when we first came to Syracuse, and again, even rugby 2 years ago, rugby has come on even so much in the last 2 years here in the States, across the States, with the game growing, with more players coming aboard and so on. In terms of then offerings and what was here, it was very much an emphasis on the technical and tactical side of the game. So the different capacities of the players, obviously the technical, tactical, but also the physical, lifestyle and mental side is as important with those strong five pillars. So it was very, you could assess and you could say, well, look at what we have at the moment is on-field practice every day, 5 days a week in the game of the weekend. And we have numbers playing, but we're fielding two sides, but we're only maybe getting 30 at practice. So, yeah, that's 2 15s, but it's not really 2 15s because you could have 60, you could have 18 forwards and 12 backs and so on.
Yeah.
So that straight away that's a participation mindset. And I'll talk to you about culture now in a second in terms of how we changed that, because you mentioned culture there a minute ago. So that was one thing. Well, are we participators or performers or high performers? Well, that would be participation. The facilities on the field. Well, we had a field that was shared with baseball, all different other club sports, which is fantastic because it's great to have a use of a field. Everyone needs it. But we didn't have our own field. So is that a participating field, a field where you can perform on, or is it a high performing field? Now we've got our own field up in Skytop where it's complete rugby, all lined out for rugby posts, and it's our field that was greatly and kindly donated by the Ballantyne family through club sport. So that now is a high performing facility. It's got lights. So we've gone from participating to high performance in that light. In terms of strength, weight development, strength development. Yes, we've got the Barn Centre here, which is a student community facility. You've got your swimming pool, but it's a very open machine weight. There is some Olympic weights there as well, but the guys they would had a very sporadic weight program. So that would be, is that a participating environment? Is it a performance or is it high performance? No, what it is a participating environment because there's loads of students use the equipment. There's a swimming pool open up for everyone and so on. Okay. But now we've got our own weight cage on a turf pitch in Manly Fieldhouse where we have supervision from a fully qualified and full-on strength and conditioning coach. So now we've gone from that participation environment now to a performance environment. How you develop the high performance just in that area. Well, then we're looking at the match day stuff. We're looking for GPS systems. We're looking for more sports science, in-depth VO2 max, different fitness testing. That's the next level. But we're closer to that now than we were when we first started. The nutrition side of things. How important is lifestyle side of things? How important is balancing your schoolwork, your college life, and what you do off the field to prepare for games the weekend when you're training 5 days a week, when you're practicing 5 days a week. Well, we need food. Then what type of food do we need? Do we know what type of food we need? Do we know how to? Which I know this sounds a bit candid. Some of us don't know how to eat properly for the demands of rugby, and it's not because we don't know. But by getting educated in that field and understanding about carb loading and understanding about, if I need to eat a wee bit more to sustain during the week, that I'm not going to burn into my energy system. So when I come Saturday, I can perform and so on. So we've gone from just a download link on what nutrition looks like to now full support, one-to-one support for any student at any time to go and meet that support with Deirdre Brown, Howard Brown within the Barn Centre. So she is very supportive on, again, digging deeper into each individual's needs because we're all different. We all burn energy different and so on and so forth, all different body types. So now we've gone from a participating, who cares what anybody eats or drinks, and now we've gone to a performing, educational, monitoring, reviewing, assessing, with the responsibility on the student to take that opportunity up. So what would high performance be? High performance then would be more the nutritionist leading it, more nutritionists making the player accountable. But we're a lot closer to that now than we were from day one. So I don't know if that makes sense in terms of the journey and how you now can quantify and why how you've developed and gone through those phases.
Yeah, it's data driven is what you're saying. And then you're making decisions. Well, you're going from, basically just being able to participate and get on a field to, creating data around, something, right? You're creating more ownership, right? Autonomy, right? And then, hopefully working towards with the goal of working towards high performance. That's not only like all the off-field stuff, like that's what you want on a rugby field, isn't it? Right?
Yeah,
Like
and
it's
then
it's the details and the questions,
exactly.
here's how we approach things. Why do we approach it like this? Why is it
Yes.
important to approach it like this every single time? Right?
Yeah, no, great point, Nate. And then the culture piece that you mentioned, there's a lot of talk about culture in all sports all around the world. Everybody has their own idea on culture. And for me, what is culture? Um, Culture for me is values with behaviors, or values plus behaviors. And a lot of us maybe don't actually take time out to actually challenge ourselves, no different from what you're saying about that data driven process, and say, well, what are our values as a group? And then when you identify them and then they're on paper, well then those values then need to drive behaviors. And if you're not behaving on the values that you've said, well then we have a problem. And if we are, then what does it look like? And then how can we support and drive them even further? And that gives an autonomy and an open, safe environment to be able to call people out, not for the good, not for the good of the person calling out someone, but for the good of the team and what we've agreed. And look at sometimes it's not for everybody, and that's fine. But part of our values is inclusive, everybody included. So you might be a great rugby player, or you could be the best rugby player, but nobody's any better than anybody else here, because that's part of the value of rugby, and that's part of the value of our program. We treat each other the way we want to get treated ourselves, but we respect everybody, no matter who you are, where you're from, and everyone's story is as important as each other's. So again, now we've got a measurement tool with our values that needs to lead to certain behaviours. And if they're not aligned, then we can have those conversations.
Yeah.
But it's a good, healthy environment. It's good and healthy and self-driven, and it's contained.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just gives everyone the opportunity to hold everyone else accountable, right?
Yeah.
It's not really calling someone out isn't like it's not a negative term. It's just you look,
No.
we all have we all have a common goal here, and we all have agreements that have been made, and everyone needs to be able to hold each other accountable. It's also
Yeah.
hard. I mean, it's not like it's easy, It's not like
No.
it's easy to like do this every single day. Like being a rugby player, especially in a professional environment like this, it's a commitment. And so it's going to take a massive individual effort and then massive team effort as well, and an alignment of goals. And so I think it's beautiful that that we have the structure here and we have the opportunities to immerse yourself into a program like that. I mean, what a phenomenal just environment to be a part of. Certainly an opportunity if you want to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just takes time as well, and it's going to continue to take time. And then for me, once we're being the best that we can be, and that we're controlling the controllables, and that we're not being too unrealistic, and let it grow organically.
Mm-hmm.
That's very much part of it as well, because this is very recyclable in terms of players in versus players out, and we want to just keep doing what we're doing well and keep focusing on the things that we can do.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. And that's all, that's all you really can focus on as well. And so that's great. This has been awesome. Before we get off on this one, and wrap this thing up, I want to give the floor to Sheo or Patrick. Anything you guys want to, end the conversation with in regards to the players in Rugby NorCal, or what to expect, or anything to sign off with?
Sure, you want to take it?
Yeah, I can. I think that what I want to say to like all the audience and who's going to be here watching this or reading this is that I think collegiate rugby in America is it's turning a new leaf. I think that especially with the Olympics and of the women's performance in the Olympics last summer, I think what happened was revolutionary for the game. And we need to stop looking at the other sports. Like all love to volleyball and basketball and and football, but rugby is definitely something to keep our eyes on, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
And for me, I feel like just immerse yourself in the game, right? From the second you pick up the ball, you've been playing forever or not, just being fully present in that moment when you're with the ball itself and when you're actively playing the sport. Those are the only times whenever my head is completely clear and I can truly focus on one thing and focus on becoming better and being the best version of myself, and just fully going for it and don't have any regrets. Our strength and conditioning coach says to never leave anything on the table. And that is something that I try to live by almost every day. If you have anything that you think that you can do, you can probably do it, and you should just go for it. And don't be afraid to be a part of these performance programs because they are the greatest things in the world and they're going to develop you in more ways than you could ever imagine.
Colin, if one of our players or if someone in NorCal wants to get involved or wants to learn more, what's the best way that we can get going here on the recruiting process? I think you're still muted here.
Sorry, I just actually put it up there on our group chat.
Okay.
Anyone that wants to inquire for any more information or to take things further or see what it likes the process of coming to SU, you can contact myself directly on email on colin.o'hare@leinsterrugby.ie. That's colin.o'hare@leinsterrugby.ie.
Perfect. Perfect. And I'll make sure to put that in the show notes below. So if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on Spotify or Apple Pods, just check on the links below. We're going to throw some of the other website information that they have on there as well. And obviously get started today. I don't know if you guys are on Next Phase Rugby, but a lot of our kids are doing Next Phase now. They're one of our sponsors here, and so get on, start that recruitment process if you're interested in Syracuse. And then we can, certainly get this going from there. I think it's a legitimate opportunity for any of our players in Northern California, especially if you're interested in professional environments. So that's great. Everyone, thank you so much for taking the time today. And I'm just really appreciative of everything. So, and again, check out the show notes now, and we'll be able to, send out emails to however you want to go. But again, thank you.
Thanks
Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
So much, yeah.
Awesome.
And the best of luck to all our listeners.
Thank you. Thank you.